Hello, travelers. My name is Grace Simmons, and this is the Random and Wonderful podcast. Settle in and listen to stories of wanderlust and transformation as you gain tips to inspire your next travel experience. The Random and Wonderful is brought to you by the Amethyst Palava Hut, LLC. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Random and Wonderful podcast. Today, my guest is Emmi, and we are going to chat about her role as a life guide, but also her travel and excursions and all the different life lessons that she's learned. So welcome, Emmi.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Grace.
You're very welcome. So a breakup coach. How do we get into that? And what do you do as a breakup coach? Are you teaching people how to break up, or is it the before, after? What do you do?
Great question. When I tell people what I do, they usually say, what now? And they need an explanation. So usually I call myself a breakup and relationship coach. So I'm not here promoting breakups. I'm here to help people through the process if that's the direction that they feel like they need to go. So it's a lot of self-discovery work and just kind of figuring out what your role has been in any past relationships to see if it's been serving you, not serving you, what areas you need to shift. And so, sometimes that does include ending a relationship. Or, sometimes you're going through a breakup that wasn't your choice and you need some tools and strategies for how to move through that and come out the other side, in a good place.
Wow. Okay. So are you finding that people kind of reach out to you maybe when it's a bit too late, or are you able to kind of guide people in either direction?
Yeah, I have people coming to me from all different points along the relationship journey. Most people, I would say, reach out after they've gone through either a breakup or a divorce, or maybe they're in like an on and off relationship like I was, a situationship, maybe they're dating. But I really have had people in kind of all the different points of that journey. For example, I had one man who seemed like he was going through a separation with his wife, but he didn't seem to be very clear about what was happening. And so I kind of just guided him through that process, which did ultimately lead, to divorce. But it gave him a lot of clarity to help him be able to move forward rather than just being stuck in limbo. And I think a lot of people get stuck in the limbo of uncertainty. And so I think it really helps when you have a professional guiding you, you can gain more certainty about what direction you want to go.
Absolutely. Okay. So Spain is your turning point. So please, how did you even end up in Spain? Why Spain, first off? And I'd love to hear a bit about that journey.
Yeah. So I've always enjoyed travel in general, but I had always gone with other people. And I was in this on again, off again relationship, which means I was going through breakups with the same person repeatedly for pretty much for 6 years. It was also a situationship, which means it was very unclear, undefined. I never really knew what was going on. And it really led to a lot of my own kind of self-worth deterioration. A lot of self-doubt, a lot of negative feelings, like anxiety, depression, stress. So when I was kind of at my lowest point, I realized no one was going to come out and like save me or like pull me out of my funk. And I knew that I needed to do that myself. And so I just decided, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to do something that I never thought that I could do, honestly. And at that point, I was in my early 30s. So as a grown woman, I totally should have been able to, do something like a solo trip. But it just felt like this is going to be the biggest challenge. I'm navigationally challenged. So, going to a different country without knowing the language yet, not really knowing, subway systems and being bad at directions. I was like, this is going to help me become really independent. It's going to help gain confidence to know that I can do something like this. And it was also kind of scratching my itch for learning Spanish. I knew I wanted to learn the language, and I figured, the best way to do that is immersion. So that's why I chose Spain.
Wow. Okay. So first, were you in one area in Spain, or did you kind of move around?
I moved around. So I actually went there 2 summers in a row. The first summer that I went for 3 weeks. And because I wanted to do the immersion, I kind of based where I was going off of the language schools that I found. So I spent some time in some major cities. So I did 1 week in Madrid, 1 week in Barcelona, and 1 week in Malaga.
Were you staying? Is there like a kind of an accommodation or lodging that's attached with these language schools, or did you have to navigate that as well?
Yeah, so that was also another thing. I was really trying to set myself up for as much success and support as possible since I was going there by myself. So that's another thing I liked about the language school is that they offered a choice. You could do a homestay with a family, or they could arrange an apartment for you. So the first year that I went, I did family homestays. And the second summer that I went, I stayed in an apartment with other students.
Nice. How is it with the family?
It was good. Each of them were unique in their own way. Two of the stays, it was more of just kind of like a mother of the house, like a house mother where I didn't spend a whole lot of time with them, but they were like there if you needed them. But the second stay that I did, she did have a family and she was like, okay, you need to be home at, 10 p.m. each night for dinner. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. Oh,
So,
that's nice.
yeah.
And then what was the difference? Did you find a difference between being with the families and then being with a roommate?
Yeah, definitely. They each provided their own value. Is like, eating with the family allowed me to further practice Spanish and just kind of experience a piece of the culture. I mean, even just the fact that we were eating dinner at 10 p.m. was way different for what I'm used to. I'm from just outside of Boston. I eat dinner, around 5 p.m. And, I'm like, what? Dinner at 10 p.m.? I usually go to bed at like 9:30. So, yeah, it was nice to kind of hear about what their day, looked like. They have siesta in the middle of the day and they get to just chill and relax. And so, yeah, it is a different experience.
So I think sometimes when people want to go traveling, like they find themselves having that self-awareness and then having that growth and development. But you seem to have gone with that intention. And yes, there was that language, desire to learn, the different language. But still, I think going in with the intention probably helped with you being able to navigate that developmental space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I call it travel for healing in the course that I have with my students, and I do a whole lesson on it because I think a lot of people, and I used to do this a lot, and it's not like a bad thing, but I think a lot of people just like go on vacation to kind of escape their life for a little while, which is great. But then you come back to all the same crap that you left, right? And so I knew that I didn't want that for myself. I wanted this to be an opportunity for me to be able to kind of start fresh when I got back and to take whatever I experienced with me into my everyday life. And so, in the lesson in my course, it's like, how can you design a travel experience that supports you in like the path you want to be on?
How did you prepare to go to Spain? So I know it was a temporary, you were doing this over summer, but still, how did you even, from the idea of wanting to go to Spain to getting to that airport, what was that like?
Yeah. So I did do a lot of research on the front end because again, this was the first time I was solo traveling, first time out of the country by myself, and I wanted to make sure that I was safe. So I did a lot of research to make sure that I would be in areas where, travel, like not travel, but what is the word I'm looking for? Like subways and buses and taxis.
Oh, yeah.
Transportation. That's the word.
Thank you. I was like, logistics.
What's wrong with me? Yeah, I wanted to make sure that transportation was like very easily accessible to me and also safe. So that's why I chose cities. Not that there's anything wrong with being out in nature, but I didn't want to be like in the middle of a jungle by myself, for my first time. And then I also researched, the language schools, and I chose the ones that had activities that the students could do after classes. That way I would be able to, maybe make some friends and socialize and also have some kind of accountability. Like if my teacher knew I didn't show up all week, like maybe someone would call my family if I died or.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I did that research to choose the spots I was going to. And then I also did like a little mini practice trip. I borrowed my parents' SUV and went to Quebec City for a weekend. So it was drivable, relatively close and pretty safe, walled city. So that was a really fun experience too.
That's neat. So I try to advise people, especially when it comes to traveling. Sometimes we try to do these like gigantic leaps into something new, and you could just do a really quick trip that you could drive to as a practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was Quebec City like?
Oh, it's so cute. It's very walkable. And, there are great little restaurants all over. Of course, there's the Chateau Frontenac, the castle, and just very pretty. And I knew I just wanted to be able to kind of feel really free in roaming around and completely taking my time to just explore, because this was a huge part of my life where I was yearning for my own kind of self-exploration, and the physical act of exploring in a new city is a part of that.
Yes, absolutely. Going back to Spain, you've gone multiple times. What made you keep coming back? And why, would you ever go to another Spanish-speaking country to kind of do the same thing? Or is Spain your place to go?
Yeah, I mean, I had such a profound experience my first time. I just loved it so much that I wanted to go back. I knew I was going to go back when I left. And I had a completely different experience the second time I went. The first time I was mostly by myself when I was doing things. I had students and stuff, but I just really wanted to explore and I roam around by myself. And I did that a lot. The second year when I went back, I met a woman from Miami, and she was Russian, but from Miami, living in Miami. And we hit it off right away. And that was the first weekend that I was there. And we spent the whole month doing stuff together. So it was a really different experience, but still, really fun and helpful to my growth. And then I did go on to visit other Spanish-speaking countries by myself. I took a trip to Cuba, but that was in a guided tour experience. And then I also went to Colombia, and I was by myself there, but I had a friend who kind of hooked me up with, meeting with some of her family here and there and, people that she knew. So I'd have these touch points.
Yeah. That's really important. One of the things I think, especially when I went to Portugal, I found it really easy to find different networks through Facebook. And there's that safety aspect, right? Where at least I needed to know that someone in the country knew where I was. And my family could, yeah, sure, you're going to be hanging out with these people. There's that nice network. I think even when you're traveling solo, people tend to feel like you're always going to be by yourself. And there's that advantage, yes, of, if you're going to a language school, sure, there are going to be other people, but you're able to meet someone and then connect with them throughout your entire stay there. How often does that happen for you?
Well, like I said, the other two experiences I had after that in the Latin countries were more, well, one of them was in a group, so I was always with people. But I did find, I consider myself to be an introvert. I would way rather be inside myself than talking to everyone. And I found that when I was traveling on my own to Spain, I was talking to everyone. I think it's just you allow yourself to be so much more open to other people, to conversation that I don't do at home. And I even really tried to bring that back home with me. I'm I was so kind of extroverted when I was there. How come I shell back up when I get home, right? It's kind of weird. But I think also wanting to learn Spanish really helped me to do that, because I was literally willing to talk to anyone who would talk to me so that I could practice.
How did you get over that fear and concern of you're now trying a brand new language in another country and trying to connect with other people?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are fearful about trying to speak a new language, but I find it exciting. So I wouldn't say that I had a fear of it. I was just always really friendly and smiley, and the people love when you're trying to speak their language. So I found that most people were just really encouraging, and I'd find myself always saying I understand if you speak slowly, and then they would slow down, so yeah, I wasn't fearful at all. I just kind of like leapt into it and like really, really enjoyed it.
Nice. Are you ready to travel with more confidence and less stress? The Traveler's Mindset course is here to help you overcome your fear, plan trips that match your needs, and embrace the wellness benefits of travel. Whether you're new to solo travel, managing anxiety, or just looking for practical tools to explore the world, this course was designed for you. All you need is a willing heart and listening ears. Visit the link in the show's description to enroll today and start your journey with confidence. What are some takeaways that you've gained from that experience? Especially your solo travels, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the fact that it was like life-changing for me as like growing my own self-dependence, it really opened the door to my mind about what I was capable of. Because I would always think of myself like, oh, I'm not the kind of person who can do that. Well, why not? Like, after I did that and kind of proved to myself that I could do something that I thought I would never be able to do, it allowed me to also think about other things that maybe I thought I would never do, like write a book and become an author. Like, I never, ever thought in my whole life that, like, I would be an author. But because of that experience, I was like, well, why not? Why can't I be an author? And so I wrote my memoir. And then after that, it just like kind of grows one experience on the other, because then after you do that, I was like, well, I was a high school biology teacher for 16 years. And at that point, I wasn't really feeling it anymore. Like I really, really wanted to go into this, coaching business and help people in a different way. And so I was like, why not change my career? Like, I never thought I thought I was going to be a teacher my whole entire life and retire a teacher, right? And so it really took a lot for me to question that and be like, wait, maybe it is possible for me to do something different and leave something behind. I mean, that was a huge decision to go on a path that is completely unknown, which is exactly like travel.
Yeah. Yeah. I still love that travel has been that developmental opportunity, I think, that you can use, whether you're trying to get to know yourself or you're trying to challenge what you know of yourself already. Again, we tend to limit what we think we can do because of our past life experiences, right? But it's an incredible, like, it feels like baby steps. As you're enjoying this experience, you're traveling, you're getting to know people. And then when you come back to reality and you're like, I am different. I have grown. I could do so much more than I thought I could. That's incredible. What's the name of your book, or what's the name of your memoir?
It's called Who is Your Red Dress? One Woman's Quest to Break Up with a Love Addiction. My friend describes it as a cross between Sex and the City and the world of salsa dancing. So,
all right.
It's very spicy. I will tell people, listen, you have to like explicit content if you want to read my book.
I love the wording. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. I have noticed too, though, because I kind of only partially answered your question, like the other things that I've gotten from travel, it's just the cultural experience. Like it also makes you completely think about your life and the things that you worry about versus like seeing all the different ways that other people in different countries live. Their philosophies, their culture, their ideologies, their values, like I think it's really important for people to be exposed to as many different things as possible in life and different people as possible so that you don't get pigeonholed in your own belief system.
That's a great point. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
It's important. It's important to remember, as big as this world is, there are a lot of things that connect us. And some of the things that make us different are things that we could learn from others, Like you said, especially when it comes to the different cultures and the way that people value like time. I am always reminded of how I'm used to, like, after in the afternoon, right? You're done with work. There's something else to do. You're going here. There are so many other things to do. And that time in Portugal, I remember just having to slow down People are like, why are we rushing? What are you doing? We're going to have some food. Like, just calm down and take it easy. And I think it's definitely something that I want to continue to practice being here, is being intentional about my time and making sure that I am protecting my peace as much as possible.
That's such a great observation, because I've experienced that as well. It's like, I don't know, it seems like every other country is just like way more chill than we are here in the US. And I'm like, this is so nice. Well, I'm curious, where did you go in Portugal? Because I was able to visit there many years ago as well.
I was in Porto.
Oh.
And it's so cute. But I think one of the beautiful things about it is just where that river comes in. Mm-hmm. You're kind of surrounded by, there are 2 towns on either side. And it's just, I don't know, like it looks like a picture. And it's kind of nice that when you're in it, it feels just as relaxed as it does. Like from a distance, you kind of look and you see like this old city, and there's a little hustle and bustle around it. But even there's still moments of like peace and relaxation. And that I still haven't had a chance to experience that in the States.
That's awesome. I love that. Nice. And the seafood. Hello, if you eat seafood. So good.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes, I do. And yes, it is. Like everything.
I know.
They're the little tart, like the egg custard tarts, the pasta de nata.
Those were my favorite when I was there. I was like, where can I get a truckload of these?
Goodness. So good. Yeah. Now I'm like, I need to make a trip to Lidl and grab some more. What is a self-care practice that you have learned from your travels that you practice today?
That's a great question. I have a lot of self-care practices, but one specifically from my travels, honestly, is probably to keep on traveling. Like, I think a lot of times it's very easy, and, I do it too, is like, you kind of come up with excuses, not even excuses, but just reasons of like why you shouldn't, or it's not a good time, like, oh, it's the holidays. I can't go somewhere on the holidays. Like, what will my family say? Or I don't have the money to travel right now. Or, how am I going to get the time off of work? Like, I think I really try to prioritize the fact that exploration in the form of travel is really important to my own happiness and personal development. And so by making it a priority, I figure out how to pay for that trip, or I figure out, how to rearrange my work schedule so I can go, or whatever it is. I talk to my family and say, hey, I know that you might not like this, but this year I'm actually going to go here on Thanksgiving. Right. It's not like I make a habit of it, but I think there's a lot of like beliefs and thoughts that people just accept and don't ever challenge. What about you?
I think a practice of peace that I'm having, it comes up every once in a while, is trying to be more like actively observant. I know there are times where I try to coach as I'm talking to people, and I'm like, we could do this. This could be great. But I think something that's coming up is just remembering to kind of step back and listen, even if I disagree. And I'm saying that as a practice because it is 100% something that I'm still working on. But I think when I'm traveling, there's that curiosity about what people are doing and why they're doing it. And that's something that I want to pull into my everyday, because I'm used to that, right? I'm used to the people. I'm used to probably how they're going to react to something. And I think if I can remind myself to do the same that I would in another country, just to kind of sit back and relax and just observe. Like, why do you see that situation the way that you do? Or why do you think that way? Or I think that may be more helpful. It'll probably lead to more understanding, maybe not agreement, but understanding of why people are the way that they are. So I think that's one of the things that I'm working on.
That's awesome. I love that. I mean, observation is probably the thing you're doing the most when you're traveling. Mm-hmm. It's just like all this newness and like different things. And when you come back to your normalcy, like it's more unfamiliar to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're like, let me get in there. Let me interact. Let me, just attempt to take it easy. Oh, I have a question that I forgot to ask. when you were navigating the transportation, how did that work out for you? So were you able to kind of navigate and move around in the cities, or did you find it a bit complicated or different?
Well, I mean, Europe is just so well connected that it was very easy. I mostly took the subway, trains, and then, every once in a while I would maybe take an Uber, like if I was out partying late, I'm like, well, the trains are done now, so I have to take an Uber. No, I mean, in Spain especially, I found the transportation to be pretty easy to navigate. But I would always study like my subway map, like in my room before I would go, just to really have a clear idea, like, okay, what are my stops? Where is that bringing me? Because I'm not the kind of person that comes naturally to. I can't just like figure it out in the moment. I need like at least 30 minutes to like study the map and figure it out.
But we're talking about safety. That is also a safety thing too, is to make sure like your different stops and where you're going so that you're not trying to figure it out on the way there. So
yeah, you don't want to look.
I think you're just being safe.
Like wandering around.
Exactly. We don't want that.
Although I did a lot. I was like pulling out my map, like, oh my gosh, I have to share. I know it's like 30 minutes. I have to share this story.
Yeah, go, please.
There's this one time in Barcelona, I had been walking for what seemed like days, and it was just the mid of summer. The heat was oppressive, and I was just like so tired, and I didn't know where in the world I was going or like what bus to get on. So I'm sitting there at this bus stop, standing with my huge paper map like open in front of me, in front of the subway map, just like looking at the subway map and then back at my map, and then the subway map and then back at my map, just like trying to figure it out. And the whole time, this like old Catalan woman was just sitting on the bench watching me. And then finally she was like, in Spanish, she's like, "You need help?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yes.
But she then proceeded to explain what I should do in Catalan, which is a dialect of Spanish, which I didn't understand. And she was speaking pretty fast. And so at the end, I was just like, "Oh, thank you, like, muchas gracias, And I was like, so I got on the bus and I sat down and she got to the back of the bus and then I got off at a stop and I turned around to like kind of like wave at her. And then her face was just like so like confused and like downtrodden because she's like, "No, like that's what I told you to do." I was like, "Bye." I'm like, poor woman. She like thinks I'm hopeless, I'm sure.
Oh, wait, did you get off completely or?
Oh yeah, I got off and I was like, all right, let's wait for the next bus, figure it out.
I love that. And you survived.
I did survive. I have to say that like luck, someone was on my side watching me. So I have been lucky in that regard.
Awesome. I like that. No, I'm glad you shared the story. Before we go, 2 questions. One, is there anything that I haven't asked that you would like to share? And then the second one's just going to be where we can find you. So is there anything that you'd like to share? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just like to, again, draw the parallel to pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone to do something that is unfamiliar, but also maybe even like really pushing yourself to your edge, and travel a lot of times is that for people, because when you can do that, you can definitely open your mind to see things in different ways. And that is a really, really key tool in helping you get unstuck from, let's say a breakup or a toxic relationship or even any kind of life transition where you just have this like overwhelming challenge and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. That skill of like learning how to see things differently and being open to maybe things you hadn't considered before can really open up so many opportunities to have a life way better than you ever even imagined for yourself.
Thank you. Well, that's a great way to wrap up. Oh, also, so you are including a freebie. What is it?
Yes, I love this freebie because it's nice and concise, but then they also have the full guide for people who like to read. So it's called my Relationship Cheat Sheet Guide. And the very first page is just like this graphic that can really kind of clearly help you identify what is your ideal relationship. And, that can help you figure out if you're currently in the right relationship or the wrong relationship, maybe help you figure out what you want a future relationship to look like, and also understand areas where you might need to shift in order to attract that into your life. So that is the cheat sheet. And then it comes with a pretty comprehensive guide of the 3 reasons why men and women end up in unfulfilling and toxic relationships and how to overcome those 3 things.
And we will find that in the show notes because, yeah, that's going to be needed for everyone. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Emmi, for being my guest and for sharing your experience. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for helping me share these stories with everybody.
Absolutely. Hey there, Grace here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained some useful takeaways. Thank you so much for listening and staying until the end. Don't forget to rate the show or share it with some friends. Have a wonderful week. Take care. And remember, be bold, be curious, be ready to tell your story. You never know who needs it. Bye-bye.